Welcome to Flying with Freedom with John Chu, World War II veteran, and our guest. And I'm Carl Chu, Sales Excellence Leader with Liberty Mutual, based out of Duluth, Georgia. So, John, I have to ask, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers are asking, you just had a birthday at 96. Is that right?
That's right.
And we're all wondering, what is the secret to looking this good and staying this healthy for that long?
I really don't know. But I think it's just keep healthy. Yeah.
All right. Well, very good. Very good. Well, we're very curious and we're excited to learn a little bit about your past and your experiences. So do you mind kind of stepping back and first starting off with what got you into aviation?
Well, originally my father, he was a flyer also in 1932. He joined the San Francisco Chinese Aviation School in the first class, and he graduated in 1933. And every time when he has a free time, he'll take me out to the airport with him. And so I got interested in aviation. And he inspired me, so I went into aviation at that time.
Okay. And what age were you when you joined, I guess, World War II?
Well, I was just about 16.
Whoa, 16. I'm sure that most of us are thinking, we couldn't even drive cars at 16, and you're entering the war and in flying an aircraft or fighter plane. So how did you even get into the war at 16?
Well, 16, well, actually, you have to be at least 18 before you can enter the flying school. But I kind of cheat a little bit. I raised my age a little bit.
Okay.
So when you're 16, that's a American way of age, you know. But in Chinese age, you're already 17, because once you're born, that's 1 year old. So actually, you're 17 in Chinese. So I cheat 1 more year, so I'll be 18 then.
That's a good little trick. I guess I'll have to keep that in mind. So what got you, and how did you get into, I guess, flying, I guess, for the war? So can you tell the audience about that?
Well, since I got influenced by my father, you know, in aviation, and then what happened was at that time, China was invaded.
Okay.
Invaded. So I think it was a right thing to do at that time, because the Chinese government needs pilot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's at the same time that the Chinese Aviation School in San Francisco, at that time they are trying to organize the third class. So I thought maybe that's a good opportunity, so I joined the Chinese Aviation School at that time.
Wow. Okay. And you always mention that there's a Hawaiian song that reminds you of that time period. Can you tell us a little about that?
Well, when I actually, most of my classmates already left San Francisco, but I was still in school at that time. And then when I finished my high school, at that time, and then I took the President Coolidge to Hawaii. And when I reached Hawaii, at that time, Hawaii, every time a boat docked in Hawaii, they play the music Aloha Hawaii. That makes me, when they play the music, it makes me really cry.
Oh, well, you came to my Hawaiian wedding, so I'm glad that you were able to make it out there in Hawaii and we were able to celebrate that. Yeah. So what kind of aircraft? I guess you flew a lot of different aircraft, but what kind of aircraft did you fly?
Well, for trainer, well, we usually something like the American U.S. Army does the fleet, and a BT-9, and of course the advanced class. I flew they use a trainer Hawk 3.
Oh, okay.
They're all very old plane.
Okay. And what plane was your you said you credited in your book you credited the P-40 for saving your life. Can you tell us that story?
Well, what happened was that on one of the missions with the P-40, the P-40 has a very rugged plane. It was built very strongly. They got armor plate on the front, armor plate on the side, armor plate in the back.
Kind of like this one, right?
So when one day I was out on a mission with 3 other. We noticed some enemy light tank, and we went down and straight them. And of course, you can see them fire back at you with a cannon, bright light, that. But lucky they miss us, But anyway, afterward, when I was getting low, I think I was hit by the ground fire.
Okay.
And they hit me. And that's with about 3 bullets right around my rib here. But it happened that there's a little armor plate on the side, that hit the armor plate instead. And of course, those bullets seems like it's exploded, And the paint of the armor plate, all flying the paint around the cockpit. And I look at myself, I check myself, right away. I wasn't injured or anything, but I noticed that I have to go back to the base as soon as possible because I noticed that I was hit on the back. I can feel that it was exploded on the back gas tank there. So I was trying to get home as soon as possible.
Wow. Okay, and I would like to credit and thank you for the engineer who decided to put that metal plate in your aircraft, that extra armor. So, you enjoyed flying the P-40, and what kind of mission? So I know you have a lot of awards for flying with the P-40. Here's some of the awards here, but you have a special one, right? You have
a special one.
Special one's down here.
It's more or less like an air medal. In the Chinese Air Force, since the war began, they limit 20 missions, you get an air medal. But at that time, when you get up to 20 missions, it's very, very difficult when the war began.
Okay.
Yeah. Most people maybe get up to maybe even less than 5, at that time. So getting up to 20 missions is quite difficult until we get some more modern plane. That would be a lot easier. Yeah.
And you flew a lot of the hump. You referenced the missions called the hump.
Yes.
And what was it like flying? What was when you say that you flew the hump mission? Can you tell us more about the hump mission? What was that? And what did it entail?
Well, the hump mission is when we get the new plane from Uncle Sam, we have to fly down to Karachi. At that time, it was India, but right now it belongs to Pakistan.
Oh,
Pakistan.
Okay.
Yeah. Then at that time, the Burma Roll were fighting through the Burma Roll, and then flying over the hump. We have a lot of high mountain. We have to fly north the first time, flying P-40, because down in Burma Roll, near Burma Roll, there was an enemy airport. So we want to keep away from that because although the mountain is a little lower, but we want to keep away from there because they got some fighter over there.
Okay.
So we have to fly north of Burma Roll, and those mountains are very high. We will probably cross it in about 18,000 feet. They're only crossing, not even the top of it yet.
Okay. Hold on. We have a question coming in. Actually, Ben Lin from Twitter just wants to know: you got to meet General Chennault, famous legendary figure in history. Can you tell us about your interaction with General Chennault?
Well, General Chennault at that time, he was a colonel, hired by the Chinese government as the Air Force Academy General Advisor.
Okay.
So he actually, we follow his, criteria, So the only time I met him once, that was during the time when we were advanced training, and we were doing some formation takeoff. My supervisor at that day happened that he gave an order not to take off in formation. Somehow my instructor misled it, or he didn't know about it, or didn't get the instruction, but he insisted we took off in formation. And so we did. We took off in formation. Just before I left the ground, I was flying the third position. They have a leader and a right hand, the second wingman, and I'm flying the third wingman. So just before I left the ground, a BT North American taxied right in front of me.
Oof. So
when I left the ground, I noticed there's somebody right in front of me, so I pull up. And when I pull up, it because I barely have enough speed, the plane kind of dropped and hit the ground with the front wheel and bounce up again, hit the ground a second time and bounce up again, barely, miss the treetop. And I came back, and my supervisor was very unhappy about it, and he's going to can me because I was listening to order. But later on, the airport supervisor, he noticed that it's not entirely my fault. Another plane, right in front of me, it's not my fault. The canning was canceled.
Okay.
So later on, they had a accident inquiry. I think Chenault, General Chenault, that time Colonel Chenault was there too. So at the end, what happened? The result after the inquiry, I was the only one that's guilty. That's because everybody saved face. I'm the one that got punished and sent on the field where they had the T, where they put a cloth T indicating the direction of landing and takeoff, make me stand there attention for half an hour. That was supposed to be a light punishment.
Okay.
I think that is more or less like everybody save face except me.
Well, okay, and I'm sure here's another scenario I think I've read about, and you've told me this story, and I love it because we can all relate. We've made the mistake of trying to impress somebody, or in your case, I think you had a friend who was trying to impress a female. Is that right?
Yeah.
And you got yourself in a little bit of trouble with that one too.
Yes.
Can you tell us that story?
You mean the story that I got canned?
Yes. Where the gentleman asked you to fly someplace to meet a girl?
Oh, well, in one of the, when we were flying out basic, we had a subject that we were cross-country flight.
Okay.
So I'm supposed to be the pilot flying a primary plane called Fleet. It's about 100 horsepower biplane. And I'm the pilot, and I carry one of my classmates as passenger. And then when we return, the passenger becomes a pilot and pick up another passenger. So we take turn that way. So one day when it was my turn as a pilot, and my classmate was sitting behind me, and the weather turning bad, so they waved a red flag that do not take off. I noticed that, but my classmates urged me, insisted that take off. So I just listened to him, and so I took off. So not too far. I think one of my instructor flew up another plane after me, try to catch me so I can return. but I was kind of joking around, flew into scatter cloud, kind of lost him, So the airplane went back, and then we finally got to our destination. And the minute we land, my passenger just ran into the market and bought chicken and fruits and all that. I don't know what he wants it for. Then later on, I found out that when we went back there, when we flew back, I was canned, because I didn't follow instruction. So my friend had nothing to do with it because he's only a passenger. So what happened was he bought a chicken and all those fruit. What for? Oh, it's close to China New Year, and he bought it for his girlfriend. So I got canned for 1 week.
Well, I think we can. You're a good friend to do that for him, and I think we can all say we've done something similar, right?
Well, I think my friend is taking advantage of me because I'm an overseer. I don't know too much about the military, military command and all that stuff,
What were some of the key challenges you faced during your involvement with World War II?
Well, the very worst thing was that language barrier.
Okay.
Because most of our overseas from United States, we speak Chinese Cantonese language, but in those days in China, they use a Mandarin language. So during the training, we had difficulty in understanding what the instructor is saying.
One of the most famous aircrafts of all time is the P-51 Mustang. We read about it and we've seen it on TV shows, and you were lucky enough to fly this aircraft.
Well, the P-51 is a very, very nice airplane.
So what kind of missions did you actually get to use this aircraft for?
Well, actually, we use it for air battle. I think at that time it was very hard to find enemy plane in the air, so we do most of this by ground strafing.
Okay.
Yeah, at low altitude.
What was your favorite thing to do with this aircraft? Is there anything special you like to do with it that was like, gives me an adrenaline rush?
What was it again?
Anything fun? Did you get to use this aircraft for anything fun that was like your thing that was something different? What was the most fun thing to do with this aircraft?
Well, we use it for a long distance.
Okay.
Long distance against the enemy. And most of the time, once you don't find any enemy up in the air, then we come down and look for something on the ground.
Okay. All right. What other kind of aircrafts did you fly during World War II?
Well, we use in World War II. I think World War II the fighter. We used a very old fighter called the Hawk 3 as our advanced trainer.
Okay.
Yeah. Of course, this model here is not exactly the same, except that this is a 2-blade. The one I flew is got 3 blades.
And what was this aircraft used for? How did you use it?
This type of aircraft, when the war started, that's the Chinese best fighter plane.
All right.
Yeah. They're the first line aircraft.
Okay. We have another message in from Facebook. We have Alyssa Webb wants to know about your experience meeting President Bill Clinton.
Yes.
Why did you get to meet President Bill Clinton?
Well, I was invited to participate in the Chinese American Veterans organization, and I was invited to be one of them. Yeah.
And what was it like visiting the White House? Did he say anything to you?
Well, I've forgotten what he said to me, but I told him which Air Force I represent,
Uh-huh.
And I told him that I will represent CACW, the Chinese Air Force Composite Wing, yeah.
All right, so we're going to transition away from actually being in World War II to after the war. When you were returning back from being overseas, can you tell us about that transition back into San Francisco area?
Oh, well, that's a pretty long and difficult time at that time, because when I went back to China, I had to go to Angel Island to get a return permit, because at that time, United States do not issue passport to Asian going aboard, So I got a piece of paper, and with that paper, I can return to the United States. So after the war, when I joined the Chinese Air Force, I automatically lost my citizenship.
Oh, wow.
Because any citizen that joined the foreign service automatically lose their citizenship. So actually, I don't have a United States. I lost my citizenship, and then when I joined the Chinese Air Force, and then when I was in the Chinese Air Force, I finally got married in 1945, just before the war ended, and then I was transferred to Beijing after the war. And then, of course, sometime the oldest son, Daniel, he was born in Beijing. And then when he was born in Beijing, of course, he's considered as, I'm considered as a Chinese citizen, so eventually he's considered as a Chinese citizen. So when the war ended, of course, I started processing my return to the United States. The first thing I did was to regain my citizenship, and I did. And after that, the second thing that I have to take my family back with me, I have to get my visa for my wife. So while applying for the visa, and I had to stay in China to wait for the approval. And then finally waited until from 47, almost 2 years.
Wow.
Finally, he was approved. At that time, I was in Hong Kong already. And then after my wife got her visa, so Daniel is a Chinese citizen. So at that time, the immigration to the United States only annually only allow 105 people to come to the United States. So I have to get him a visa, so I have to wait for a long time. But it was a good thing that I put Daniel's picture in his mom's Chinese passport, and then when they went up to the American Consul, they put a stamp on my wife's passport. But when I went to try and get a passage back to the United States, I think the fellow who looked at it, the agents looked at it, he made a mistake. I think he thought that mission included my son Daniel.
Oh.
So he showed me 2 tickets. And I was very much relieved at that time. But the problem was, now how did I get aboard the airplane? I knew that you have to go through the airline official, and of course, they look at your passport, and she only admitted only my wife, But I don't know, somehow I ran into a friend of mine that works for Pan Am. And I explained to him, he said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm returning to the United States." But I said, "I have a problem." I said, "Okay, what kind of problem?" I said, "Well, I got the visa for my wife, but my son has no visa." So he said, at that time, my wife was already pregnant with my second son. So usually airline will allow people pregnant and people with children, a young child, they can go up to the plane ahead of time. So my friend said, "You come with me. You come with me." So he hold Daniel and asked my wife to follow him and aboard the plane first. So when they get into the plane, I know that this problem will be solved pretty soon because I know he's going to be detained in Hawaii. But when you are detained in Hawaii, that's American soil. That's okay. So I went through the regular channel, and finally we got on board, and we got to Hawaii, and of course they look at it. My wife's passport. They said, "Well, your son has no passport. You're going to be detained, but not detained in Hawaii, but detained to continue the flight to San Francisco."
Oh.
When we got to San Francisco, well, of course, we got detained. The family was there. My father, mother, and my kid brother and sister, they were all there to meet me. So we chat for a little while, and then we were sent to the the immigration detaining center. Mm-hmm. That's where we stayed there. And we got locked up there. I was there 1 week more than my wife, because my wife, in about 2 or 3 days, she complained that she's having problem with her pain in her stomach, and they had to let her go to the hospital. So they were let out on parole while I was left there for another week. And when they released me, well, they apologized that they had too much work and didn't get to my case right away. So they let me out in about a week. So later on, of course, my father had a lawyer to take care of this case here, and finally, I think at the end there, then it automatically becomes a citizen.
Okay. And what has changed over the years as an Asian American today versus that time period?
Well, I tell you, in my time, in the 30s or something, well, discrimination and equal right has been changed up to now, to make it much more pleasant, much more easier, for the Chinese American. They can, as time goes by, they can get a better education, and they get better opportunity, and of course, up to then, a lot of people are a lot more better life.
We have another question coming in right now. Tom England out of Overland Park, Kansas wants to know, what did you do in the 40s and 50s to help excel your life, I guess? What did you do after the war is his question.
Well, when I first came back to the United States, the most difficult problem was how to find a job to provide for the family and go to school at the same time in the evening. That was a difficult time for me. Yeah.
And what did you study?
Well, instead of going to the day school, because I had to work in the daytime, and I just can't go to any university, so I went to a night school. I went to Hill College, and I took up engineering. And after about a few years going to night school, I finally got my bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering.
And you never had an involvement in flying after the war?
Well, because number one is my wife doesn't want me to fly anymore. And
that's a good reason. If your wife says don't do it, you just don't do it.
Well, that's right. The thing is, I have to take care of my family first. Yeah.
And what would you say is something you observed the changes from the 40s to today that you mentioned about more opportunity for Asian Americans, but what else have you seen change for I guess Asian Americans as a whole? What else has changed?
Well, as a whole, discrimination and equal right has improved quite a bit.
Okay.
Very much, yeah. Up to present days, well, everything changed quite a bit. So the life for the American, Chinese American, a lot better than about 40 years ago.
So Colby Snyder out of Aliso Viejo has written in asking what new opportunities are out there now for Chinese Americans that weren't available maybe back in the 50s?
Well, right now, because of the less discrimination and less equal right, that the Chinese American has a better opportunity because they can go to better education. And once they get the better education, they have a better opportunity, better jobs, and they can, it's just like get better advance promotion in most of the company and so forth. Yeah.
And what do you see as the biggest struggle in today's world for Chinese Americans?
Well, the only thing is that that there are still a little bit of discrimination and equal rights. We're not perfectly eliminated, but eventually, maybe one of these days, everything will be fine. Everything will be equal. Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Okay. And we're all dying, so we have to ask this question.
Yeah.
You have a very unique signature look, and is these eyebrows, right? What does the eyebrow mean? What does that mean? What does that signature mean to you?
Well, I don't know what it meant, but then in Chinese it's longevity.
And it's worked at 96. That is a very, very proud statement.
Well, I don't know about 96, but hopefully I just keep it up, as I age more, I just have to keep up my health.
Should I stop trimming mine?
Well, I never trim my eyebrows, and I just let them grow as much as you can. Just leave it alone.
I'm sharing with the audience your published book, Flying for Freedom. Why did you write this book?
Why? It was in 2007. At that time, I had a back surgery, and then I was laid up at home recuperating. So all that time, I can't go anywhere, and I can't do anything. I get bored. So my daughter, Georgiana, and my daughter-in-law, Carol, inspired me. Why don't you write something? Write something about history. Write about yourself. So I said, well, maybe it's a good idea. So I start scribbling, and then finally, I used to tell my own story. So I wrote, drafted up, and then Georgiana and Carol, they looked through it, and then that's how I came up with this book here.
Very good. And we will put his email address in the My Connections page. If you would like a copy, if somebody would like a copy, they can email you directly and you'll ship them.
They can write to me correctly, yeah.
Okay, you can request a copy.
Because my book is not for sale, but I've just given it away. Yeah.
Thank you, John, so much for inviting us into your home and doing this interview and sharing your story. We would like to thank Leap and Valor for sponsoring this event. And everyone in the audience, please put your hands together for a warm welcome for John Chu.
Thank you, and welcome.